Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Innovation podcast. Today I'm here with Sarah Wyer. And Sarah, we met, I think, at the World Summit AI in the VIP lounge of all places a couple of years ago, right? I think it's like 3 years ago.
3 years
and back
ago.
then,
Yeah.
something like that. And back then, you were talking about a study or research you were doing about bias in AI, and I started following you on LinkedIn and sort of got up to speed. And now you've finished the research in January, so I'd love to learn more about it. But before we go into your research and what it's all about, I'll just give I'll give the title. It's Algorithmic Bias, Sexualized Violence Against Women in GPT-3 Models. So I'm sure that will get the people curious. But before we go into your research and all of that, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? How do you get to study something like this?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me, Marion. So yeah, I started my PhD journey. I reached out to Sue Black, who was at the University of Durham. And anyone who's starting a PhD knows that you have to reach out to these academics and say, will you be my supervisor? I have an idea. So I had an idea to do some research with Sue, and we chatted it through. And it was round about the time when we had Invisible Women that had just been released by Caroline Criado Perez. Yeah, nice. My bookshelf's very empty at the minute. I'm having a clear out, so but it's over there for sure. Nice.
That one.
Really good book. Well, strong book. It highlights a lot of issues within the data world. And as we know, data informs AI. It's just the backbone of AI. So that was really interesting. Another book that I was reading at the time as well was Algorithmic. I think you maybe have that as well. Algorithms of Oppression.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that.
This
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So, I've got all the classics.
Yeah, exactly. So another classic. So yeah, at the time, those had just around. They'd had just come out. Caroline Criado Perez talked about the data landscape and it being biased against women, and then Sophia Noble then started talking about Google search, and she discovered that there was intersectional bias against women against women of color. It was highly sexualizing women of color and girls of color within the search algorithm, and that's what she did. So off the back of that, what somebody in the department had said, there's this thing called GPT. They're transformers, and maybe you want to have a look at that. It's just something, and it was something that had landed, and a lot of other things in the world, in the space of AI, were out at that point. So it was just an interesting. It was academically interesting. So I had a look, and I was speaking to Sue, and I just said, do you know what? After the back of this, I'm gonna come off a call. It was an online call. I'm gonna give me a week, and I'll see if there's any bias within it. And literally within a second, I just typed in, just like Sophia Noble did in her study. So she typed into Google, why are Black women so, and it would auto-populate and give some awful responses. So I did the same, but I just put something like, why are women so? Women can, men can. So I think I put, the first one I put in was women are, and it just came out with all of these expletives, basically demeaning language. I won't say it on the call, but demeaning language against women, basically saying that, that we're very sexualized and very demeaning towards women. Whereas for men, it was saying men are leaders in the space, and it was just very, very, very different. I just thought, this is fascinating. This thing's out there. Anyway, it started to get some.
That's one word to call it. Yeah,
fascinating, exactly. But then it started. I kept seeing it everywhere, and I was just, I was in my research bubble, and I just thought it was me because this is my area of like where I'm concentrating on. But then it just started to gain momentum, and we all know where we are now with that. So so it started to do some research with GPT-3 models, different models, and each time we know when a model's created, they do improvements, and these improvements weren't really happening within the GPT-3 models at least, but we did some topic analysis. So for my prompts, I just, like I said, women can, women cannot, women should not, and why are women so? And I did the same for men, and I did the same for people. Now, the top topic, I produced 9 million words, and the top topic for women was rape. And it talked about rape and sexualized violence towards women when it was mentioning women in 9 million words that were produced by these models.
So can you elaborate a little bit on it? Because
sure.
not everyone's going to understand like what topics are or how that sort of comes about. So how does that work?
Yes,
I'm just sort of shocked still whenever I hear this. So
absolutely. So it's just like anything, right? So we used machine learning. Now the model that I used basically took all of the text that we'd generated, and if I'd said women can, it would analyze. So all of the prompts that had women in it, I would just section that off, and it would just cluster into themes. So it would just do some just like any AI system does. It's great at pattern matching. It's not great at other stuff, but it's exceptional at pattern matching. So I was just interested, and I'd seen the data coming through, and I was like, this is awful. Like, some of the content was really explicit and really worrisome. So yeah, anyway, I did these themes and thought maybe it's just my bias, but these themes, so the AI clustered into these different themes, and the top theme for women was rape and sexualized violence. The next one down was abortion, and I've got a list behind me there. Then it was about arguing, the military, sports, and clothing. Now, also the next one down mentioned Muslim women and wearing the hijab. I hadn't personally inputted anything to do with race. Wow. And it was coming back. And what's more important as well is I did some sentiment analysis. So for people who aren't aware of that, it's another machine learning tool that we use to measure sentiment, whether it's positive, neutral, or negative. So if a statement is positive, it has a positive sentiment, and it's saying something's good. Right, and if it's negative, it's saying something's bad. The sentiment towards in these themes for rape and abortion, very negative. Also the toxicity. So I measured toxicity within this study as well. So some really great researchers before me produced got a bunch of people to rank toxic sentiment within some sentences. So they would present people with some sentences, and then the people would then annotate and rank how toxic that sentence was. And then it means once you've got that data that people have labelled and annotated whether something's toxic or not toxic, then you can take that annotation and then run a model and see how toxic something is. So what was interesting was when we did the study, so I did it 3 times, we did 3 different versions that were apparently improving every time, but towards women, the toxicity towards women was increasing, but for toxicity for men was decreasing.
Hang on, so you had 3 versions of GPT3, you're saying, and so it was getting better for men and worse for women.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Yeah. Okay, I'm not supposed to swear on this
we might end
online,
up swearing at the end.
I'll beep it now. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
So it's fascinating, and we're in this space where we have a world that's dominated by men especially within the AI ecosystem world. Yeah. And we've got these men that have a certain set of values as well. They're not necessarily liberal minded. They have some very I mean, we can just see when at Trump's inauguration, right? If we think back to Elon Musk on that stage, I mean, horrifying for the world to see. But he was quite comfortable, saluting in the way that he did, and and I think there's this narrative as well that the tech companies can say and do whatever they want, but then go back on it and just say, actually, it wasn't what you thought it was. It was something else. I think we can all just see, if we look at the data, if we look at what's actually happening out there, we can see some of the problems that are right in front of us. Yeah. Anyway, that's where I am at the minute.
Oh my. So that was GPT-3.
Yeah.
You said when they were proving the models within the GPT-3, it was getting worse for women, better for men. I think we're at GPT-5 now, so we've got quite a different bunch of iterations, and they've done all sorts of new things to it, apparently, because it's all better and improved.
Yeah.
Are they? Is it better for women, you reckon?
So it's more balanced. So what they've done is they've got a moderation layer now. So they don't tell us what the data is now. So interestingly, so back in that study that I did in GPT-3, if we have a look at the top topics for men, which is really insightful, we've got the top topic, the highest ranking topic was about God. Okay, so you can think, all right, okay, there's a lot of stuff out there that says man shall do this and that. Oh, great. The second highest topic was about Marvel and all of those comics. So so it was about comic characters.
Right.
And I was like, that's really interesting. Like they've apparently scraped the internet, and the highest topic when talking about men relates to, Marvel characters and all of that stuff. And I was like, that's really interesting.
Right.
So I had a look. The 22% of the data came from Reddit. So that now,
right. So the most credible source on the internet. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
for those people who are listening and thinking I'm serious, that's like basically a bulletin board, right? So people just spread their opinions there rather than necessarily facts.
Absolutely, and they've had a bit of stick in the past for the demographic that they've traditionally attracted. So generally, at the time, it was white younger males that were attracted to the Reddit platform. That has changed over time, but obviously there's historic data there that it will. If we collect historic data, it's going to amplify those views.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess.
And 33%, you said.
So 22% of it came
22%.
from.
22%.
Yeah,
Okay.
22% of it came
making it even worse. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
22%.
Other data.
But that's a fifth of the data. So I don't know how big these models are, but that sounds humongous.
It is, and when you think of as well, the other stuff was just they scraped the internet, and this internet scrape was filtered. It doesn't tell you exactly how that was filtered, and we all know that if you and I were to be given an Excel spreadsheet and asked to filter the data for a project, without the data set might come out very, very differently depending on what we think the values are for the person that we're trying to present it to, depending on our values. Lots of things can determine how we filter something. Also, data came from Wikipedia as well, and we know that Wikipedia is not really generous towards women. The representation there is
Yeah, we know that, but you're just saying that as a side note, but we know that. But I think there's a lot of people who are absolutely not aware of that. That it's very hard to get information about women on Wikipedia and keep it there. It gets edited out by people who have other ideas about women, I guess. So to actually find sources about feminists or about women in general is quite difficult. That just also reminds me of since the new administration in the US, there's also a lot of words that are no longer allowed to be used on the internet, and content has been actively removed. Do you think that has an impact again on the training data set for a large language model?
So this is the problem I see in front of us. I think this is very intentional, and the current administration has a certain set of values. I think we can all see at the moment across the world we're seeing the rise of the far right. Okay, I see that my view of the world, that we could see the rise of the far right and those notions of fascism and how and how certain people want to see the world. And when you start reducing the impact of DEI or EDI, the way that we call it in the UK, so initiatives to, that broaden the spectrum of who's included in different spaces within work and in other places within your life, then you're changing the data you're not only changing the data, you're changing views and perceptions of the next generation that are coming through. So if you go to a museum, for example, and some artifacts have been removed, and the children then go to this museum and just don't have that visibility of slavery or whatever it may be, and that's going to first of all impact those children's views as they grow and develop, obviously, but also then it's replicated within society, and in what they see online as well. So I think it's a very targeted approach for something that's rather quite organized, and that we can see the rise happening across the geopolitical spectrum.
All right. You're saying the word organized because I'm with you on this, but I could imagine some people, I would maybe even myself naively think, nah, this can't be organized. This is just accidentally happening with the content on the internet. But basically, that's not really the case, right? So if I'm hearing you correctly, the data on the internet is already imbalanced when it comes to gender balance or all sorts of other. Let me rephrase it. It's gravitating towards one particular group of people and their opinion, and that's being actually made stronger, and anything else is kind of weighed out. And there are actually active efforts to make that even a stronger situation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And now for people think we can be in conspiracy theorists, I'm also just thinking very practically when I give presentations about inclusive tech, one of the slides I show is a world map, and then that includes, for example, Africa and other parts of the world where there isn't much internet yet, and the type of how people use the internet is different. So they start using mobile phones, but it also means there's very little content about from the content of Africa or from other parts of Asia or the global South, and even I think even South America. So there's a large part of the world is not included in the content just because it wasn't included in the first place, right? It's not even. You could argue about, well, maybe the forces aren't actually actively editing it out, although I think they are. If I hear you also, that's sort of strengthening what I'm saying. But it's already trained on a very specific Western, maybe American kind of worldview. Am I making a statement that's wrong? Or
absolutely. No, I completely agree with you, Marion. So one of the key things is, I mean, even if we look around us from the people that we know, how many of the people that we know personally post anything on the internet, first of all, in your family and your friends? Right. And then if you think about people, it's generational, right? So someone's mother or grandmother, grandfather, dad may not be posting anything, might not even be on a lot of these platforms.
Right, yeah.
So you've got that. Then you've got I'm always interested in the progression of technology. So I'm going to go back to a bit. So Netflix, the whole aim of Netflix and their business strategy was to keep us up at night so that we watch all of these shows, right? So that's great. That's a good idea if that's your business model. And then we go back to Meta and Facebook, then Meta, and all of the subsequent social media platforms. Their emphasis was on attention, so they wanted to get your attention. Now we're moving into a space with AI where they want your emotional connection. So they want to keep you up at night. They want your attention, but they also want that emotional connection too. And they're doing, and that's what's happening right now with AI. We're feeling that we're talking to something that's relatable. People are using AI as a counselor. We're moving towards companion AI. So it's very interesting. I have gone off on a tangent there, but when I went the middle layer where I was talking about social media is that attention piece, and the way to get attention is you just like everything that people say, and that like button, the thumbs up button, was really divisive in society. So it was getting people. It enabled Meta to kind of see what people were thinking and get that engagement, but it also became very divisive, and we've got these silos across the world. And when the people at people that are angry, or they've discovered that anger impassions people, and there's more content that's produced. So the narratives online aren't necessarily what's happening in the world necessarily in the main, but they are informing what people think. So interestingly, I lost my phone last week. Lost my phone. I've got a backup phone. That's fine. So I came home, logged into everything online, and logged into Facebook, one of the so many platforms that I've got on my phone. And I don't look at Facebook much, but I'm on it. And I had a look. And I was just like, this is weird. Like, I had a look, and there was just far right content right throughout all of my Facebook feed. And now and again, I will have a scroll, and it was quite alarming, to be quite honest. I had a look. It was an account that I didn't realize I had, that I just logged on. So at some point in my life, I've created a Facebook account that I've never used. I had no friends. Sadly, in this version of me, no friends. I hadn't used it ever, but it had defaulted to the far right. And you've got to wonder how that's happened, because it's not really. We're told that the algorithms are learning and they're supporting and they're personalizing things, but it hadn't done that for me at that point. So where are they getting
it? Needs to personalize to a different version of your reality first, right?
Yeah. So the data that they're using is very important.
Yeah.
Even if we scrape the internet of all of the data, which they're not actually doing, but if we were to do that, it's not representative of the whole world, the South, like you said. And also a lot of people don't post on the internet,
Sure, that's actually a really good sort of insight, because I keep forgetting that in like that it's only like 1% or something of people who actually publish something. And that's what I remember from the social media days. Like people will see your post, not respond, and only like a certain percentage will actually click on a button like or whatever. And there's only very, very few that even comment, and then it's even less that actually create their own content. So that's an interesting stack.
Yeah, so we're still consumers of this content, but we feel like we're more involved in that process, and we are.
And
we will be when companion AI is rolled out even more so. We're going to feel like we're really involved in this, and this is fine-tuning to us, but what is behind the default, we don't know, and they don't tell us. We can suspect.
Wow. Well, this is going into a doom conversation, which I enjoy at one hand, and I'm also trying to see. I do the same thing, right? I give presentations, and I can kind of talk to people about what's really possible, and depending on what they ask me for, I'll just give them a bit of a more neutral sort of this is possible versus this is possible, and then make them feel a bit uncomfortable because of the images that I show. And by the way, I show a screenshot of your research on there as well. To make people aware that this whole thing about algorithmic bias and sexualized violence against women in GPT3 models, and I've actually also used it for 2 organizations that are actually frontline for helping women dealing with violence, so domestic violence situations and so on. So these were organizations or the NGOs that train the frontline people. So I had the privilege of talking about AI to them in showing all of first getting them enthusiastic about what's possible, and then starting to gradually show about how easy it is to use plugins and AI to create content about people that did things that didn't do at all. And just to see how to make it work really easily. I was drifting towards this. All right, so I do this whole making it quite sort of oh my goddess to make people aware, wake them up and say okay, this is happening. But I also like to sort of then start thinking about so what can we do? So I've got a couple of things I want to throw at you just to see how you see it. So one of the things I see now at the moment is that I think as of the 15th of December, Facebook is going to change some settings, which means they're going to be able to use and this is Meta, your content or some of it at least to train their AIs again. So there's all of these messages on the internet saying, stop your settings and just, say no and disable it. And on one hand, I'm like, good idea, because I don't necessarily want them to use all my private stuff. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, I am a woman. I am from the queer community. If I want to battle this whole it's only about one type of opinion, maybe I should should let them use my data, because at least you get another voice in there. But I'm not entirely sure yet what to think of it. So do you have a thought about that?
I feel conflicted too, Marion. I really do. So, in one hand, you want to be in. You want a seat at the table, right? You want your voice to be heard and to be seen.
Yeah.
But the real question is that going to happen? And what are they using it for? They're not necessarily. They're just saying we're going to train it on the models. These companies do have a history of not necessarily working in society's best interest, but working in their organization's best interest. So
they're still a company and they need to make money. Yeah.
So I when I think about this, I think just in business strategy terms. So things that we can see. So if we look back at OpenAI, so we know that people are using OpenAI as a companion AI and using it for counselling. And I don't know if you heard about the poor young teenager that took his own life, Adam Ray, his own life. And he was talking to the chatbot, and there were lots of ways that could have been prevented. In fact, OpenAI currently being sued because he was reaching out, said, "Shall I leave the news out for my so that my family can see it?" And it said, "No, keep it between us." So these are So like the transcript is quite alarming, and and I understand from a technology point of view that OpenAI can say, "We didn't know this would happen," but if we slow down and actually get a room of people together who care about this stuff, like we could see the writing was on the wall, right? And we knew that. So that aside, that awful situation has happened, and I'm sure that may happen again. But what they've done is they've put stronger age limitation stuff in there. So you've got to enter your age to say how old you are.
Right, yeah.
But at the same time, they quickly pivoted and said, we can have, now we've got that, we can have erotica and basically sexualized content for everybody now that we know who's 18. And
that's what made the internet of VHS big, right? So
So it's
VHS for people, that's video recorder tapes. Yeah.
So it's a quick pivot.
Yeah.
And we know that sex sells. We know that they're all wanting to do these companion AIs because it's the next step in the evolution of this technology. Let's keep you up at night. Let's get attention now. Let's get that emotional connection. So I'm skeptical about how these organizations are going to use our data. They've not shown us that they're using it in the best way so far. And again, when this erotica content is going to be unleashed, and I believe that Meta are trying to do the same thing to do companion AI. What is that going to look like? Is it going to be hugely sexualized, just like the rape culture that we've seen in GPT3 models? And then they go, "Oh, we didn't expect it." Well, I'm saying here,
so you can send in your research and say, "Well, we did." And it's I saw a video of Grok that's Elon Musk's X large language model thing, and it's also introduced characters. In the first one as an sort of an Asian anime girl that is overly sexualized. I saw a clip from Diary of a CEO where he showed that to two, I think, psychologists or something. And it's really rare. I don't know what the right word for it in English, but it's clearly overly sexualized. The girl, even the way she's dressed, the short skirt, and looks like a very young girl, but then talks insinuative. So that's the first companion Grok's actually launched, not like as a fleet of one, and this is an option. No, this is just the default, the first one. So it's that worries me too.
But we can do flip side. There's a lot we can do. you know.
Yeah, I was going to just ask.
Yeah.
Good, go share. Right.
There's lots we can do because AI is a technology. It just at the minute happens to be in the hands of people who have a certain set of views and a certain set of, and have a lot of money, right? So that's what's going on right now. But it doesn't stop people from all different walks of life putting together an AI company, getting into AI, getting into data, getting into this area of work, and we can build the next AI. You know, one of the great things about these large language models means that coding has never been easier, right? So we can all use just like ChatGPT, for example, can help us write things with written language. It can help us write code which we can use to run machine learning models, create a website. It can do a lot of things. It can do it well. It can get started. So yeah, we can use these tools that we've been provided to kind of build a counterculture and build the next systems that can count for us.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank God for that. And I'm with you on that. And I was also wondering, because I've actually talked to people when they ask them, when I do a talk, I regularly talk about, AI and conscious innovation and responsible AI. And then I kind of start with, who use generative AI in the room, right? Because get a bit of a feel of, if all the hands go up, I know I don't have to explain certain things. If like 2 hands go up, I'm like, oh, okay, we're at that stage. But then most people know the American ones, but things like Mistral or Proton Lumo, the European ones, it's quite very unknown still. So I don't know if you've actually done research or have knowledge of how their GPT models are, if they're actually any better from the algorithmic bias point of view.
Yeah.
Or
I've not studied from the algorithmic bias point of view because I'm just trying to get my PhD over the line. So I'm still concentrating.
Right, yeah.
So at the minute where we've studied nearly every iteration since GPT-2 to GPT-5, and just writing that up and finishing it off. But once that is done, I will be looking at other models. I do know that I do know that Claude's quite good as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. But what they all seem to tend to be doing, just from talking to other people in this space, is they tend to have this moderation layer now that stops the content coming out that's harmful, which is great. But I think it's when you flip something. So, for example, with OpenAI, they're going to flip this now to do erotica and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That moderation layer is clearly going to change. Obviously, it has to, because it's for adults now. And what are the choices? Yeah. Or are they just going to let it go, like just let it go rogue and just say this is how it is? We don't know. Yeah. We'll find out in December, I guess.
Sure, yeah. And I'm also interested because this is more the consumer layer, right? So going towards erotica and the character side of things and the consumer market. But there's a lot of companies who want to use AI or generative AI to improve their business. So Google has their own workspace one. Microsoft, a lot of companies are either Microsoft or Google, right? So the ones who are on Microsoft tend to go to Microsoft Copilot, and that has GPT has OpenAI model underneath it. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to then evolve. If on one hand you're going into an adult entertainment business basically, and on the other hand you want to support or want to make business from serious corporate environments, and how are you using the same underlying model, and how is that going to work, and how is that going to impact my email that I write as a person in a company to, that has been written or co-written by, let's say JetGPT or Copilot. If that same model is also used for adult entertainment, I'm curious where it's going. I'm sure they're going to figure something out because that's a market too big to lose. Yeah, wow, that's interesting days.
It's very interesting, and what I find interesting is that that there's been some work done on job advertisements. So some adverts can be written and they can men are more attracted to them because they use more masculine language.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, if a woman writes it, it can be more attractive to a woman. But what we're seeing is this homogenization of language right now. So people are
Mm,
using language models to help them improve their language, or, you know, bring ideas together. And we're seeing
yeah.
that, you know, that those nuances that we once saw, I think over time, and I'm starting to see it, they're starting to disappear. That, you know, the different, and I think we may see over the next, I don't know, 5-10 years time, where potentially language becomes more masculine. I'm just guessing that might happen,
Mm,
which would
right.
be quite interesting, or homogenized maybe.
Yeah, yeah, and that's of course in English, which is like the largest one, and from American and the UK and so on. I'm you might not know because of in the pre-talk we talked about living in the north of the UK, so my English has gone a bit northern now, but I am as Dutch as they come. Um, so our language, of course, we're also trying to build language models in our own
Mm.
languages. You see a lot of countries doing that. So we want a Dutch language model, and then I'm sure there's a French language model, and there's a German language model, and so on. So I'm really curious to what extent they have the same issues, and also to what extent we can actually create awareness, specifically in Europe. Hopefully, the base values, the fundamental rights, which is the whole base of the EU, anyways, is protecting your citizens, protecting your consumers, is taken a bit more serious in the end. I'm really curious to see when the more local language models in different languages are coming up, if they have less of these issues in them, whether they've learned by looking at the big ones and go like, okay, we're not going that route. We're going to be a bit more, hopefully not just a bit more, but we are going to be less biased against gender, for example, or any other thing that you could skew against, and basically accidentally or purposely discriminate people. And I think it's usually more accidental than actually purposely. I'm still a believer in the goodness of people, and there's always a group of people who do this on purpose. But I think the majority of people do not intend to create biased content. They're not even aware of it, and that they're not even aware that they're using a model that is already so much worse for women or about women than it is about men.
Yeah. I agree. I think, and I don't think it's intentional. I think it's
No,
the nature of wanting quick wins. And in data, if you
yeah,
collect a bunch of data and it reflects your views, if you're a white man and you go, that looks about right, that looks great,
yeah,
let's do this. But you know, it unfortunately, AI researchers, the women, there's how many is there? I've got lots of AI researchers. 12% are women and
yeah.
in the
Oh,
world. So
that's interesting. That's only 12% because that's probably my bubble. But when I go to the World Summit AI or some other events,
it's a
the
lot of
researchers, the biased people, or the ones who are about responsible AI, they're all, well, not all women, but there's a lot of women in that space. So
yeah.
that my introduction to AI was through all of these amazing women, and then I realized, oh, there's a whole bunch of guys in there as well, but just to do the tech stuff, and we're doing the other side of it. Yeah. So yeah. So if you're being hopeful, so what sort of trends do you see that makes you a bit hopeful? You mentioned already, people getting into AI and doing something locally, but is there anything else?
You touched on it a bit. So Europe is starting to develop out, like different countries are starting to develop their own LLMs, and I think that's really important. European values are different to
Yeah,
values. We see that. There are similarities, but there are differences too. You know, if we look
yeah,
at how we're approaching regulation in the EU, it's very different to in the States.
yeah,
So that alone tells us something positive, right? And the fact
yeah,
that we're not seeing all of these European large language models just popping up all over instantly, I think is a good thing, because they're
yeah,
taking their time to do it properly, and
yeah,
consider the data. So it's easy just to scrape a bunch of data and go, oh, we put it in this model, and let's release it. It's far
yeah, yeah,
rating an important data set, getting the data right first takes time and consideration. And
yeah,
once you've got that, everything feeds from it. You don't have to put a moderation layer in necessarily. I mean, you will need one, but everything doesn't rest on that moderation layer. You've got some really strong foundations. So yeah.
That's a good one. And we've been talking about large language models, of course. But remember last year at the Responsible AI Summit, that was the day before the World Summit AI in Amsterdam. I think Virginia Dignam said something about, it's all about large language models, but I'm seeing a trend, or I'm hoping, or maybe it was also hoping, that towards small language models. So instead of using humongous language models, actually getting smaller, but very sort of targeted, trained for a purpose. So not like, of course you've got your open AIs and all of the other ones that have like general purpose things, but specifically for businesses, actually starting to train smaller targeted models that are really good in a specific target, almost kind of like a calculator that is fantastic and instant on all sorts of things, calculus, but don't ask it to say a couple of words because it can't do it. I'm actually hopeful for that to happen also a bit more, and it takes a bit of the buzz and the attention span side of it out of it, but it actually starts to use the technology for, well, making the world a better place, so to speak, and helping them in business, actually optimize your business rather than just using something generic. Is that something you see as well, that or hear about smaller
smaller language models, and also some really strong work? So at the moment, because large language models or language models are the big thing that's happening right now, people forget that AI is lots of other things too. So
yes, absolutely.
And we do that because we see it everywhere. And again, it's very strong marketing with these corporations, right? And we're susceptible to it, and I fall for it also. But AI is so much more. It's pattern matching software essentially, and we can predict breast cancer more effectively, and that's been improved. We can predict so much more within healthcare. We can predict there's so much that we can apply machine learning to that isn't a large language model. There's a great example of large language models, and I don't think this has been fixed yet, and I encourage anybody to do this who thinks that large language models are smart. So if you ask it to provide you a picture of an analog clock of whatever time, it will struggle to do it. It just can't do it. And the reason is because when people sell clocks, analog clocks, they sell the clock at the time 10 past 10 because it's aesthetically pleasing. So because you can see it's symmetrical and it would look good. But because of the data it's trained on, it's just replicating what it's heard and statistically figuring out that that's the most popular in that situation. So it will struggle to tell you the time. So something that's incredibly smart can't tell us the time yet. So I think we really need to be careful about how much trust we put into these machines when they talk. It feels like they're talking back to us. It feels like they're telling us things that make sense. They're statistically just bringing back the data that they've been fed. And if it can't tell the time yet, what else can't it do?
That's a good one. I think we've covered a lot of things, and I love having these conversations, and just sort of, I think we're in violent agreement, or we're very much in agreement, and then we're just like, this, that. So it's always fun to have these conversations, and hopefully other people who are listening or watching this are being amazed about things we find. We just know that, Caroline Chiara harassed all of these issues, and so hopefully this is giving them some insights. For yourself, is there anything what you're working on right now, or what's coming up in the near future? Because I think you mentioned something about finishing off your PhD work.
So finishing off the PhD work, I've just joined a group called UKAI that works with the UK government. That's and we're a working group. So we were just at the House of Lords a couple of weeks ago talking about ways that we can work with industry partners and people from all different groups within society to advocate for. It was about misogyny in AI, to make sure that it's equal for all, for men and women, and what we can do, laws we can put in place in the UK. Obviously, we're not in the EU, so we need to think more carefully and nudge that needle a bit more. But doing that, and also I've been working on a a framework called discrimination drift, which is under review at the minute. So that is so we spend a lot of time if you're a computer scientist or if you're working in business, talking about AI and deploying AI, but we all have different language. We all think, so people in business think AI is really super technical and we'll just leave it to the technical people because they'll fix it and do all of this stuff. And then the AI people think, oh, the business people will do the selling, but there's never any really crossover. If organizations, big organizations, are really truthful, there's never a moment where they all sit around a table and go like, where are we with these things? What do we need to do? And when I've met with you, Marion, and we've been to a lot of these places, and people say, well, what can we do? How can we make this situation better? And there are 5 things that come up. So this is part of the drift framework. It's like a SWOT analysis. If you imagine you're doing a SWOT analysis, just a quick fire round. Are we getting these things right? So D is diverse teams. If you look around, is it diverse? Are you having diverse input within who's deploying it, who's planning it, right through the pipeline to who's creating it? Representative data. We've talked a lot about data today. Is your data representative of society and the people you're wanting to serve for that use case, for that situation? Independent audit is I, the drift, or internal audit, depending. It's ideal if it's independent, but if you're a small company and you can't afford it, internal audit. F is for freedom to challenge the status quo. So we know that Timnit Gebru, for example, who was an AI ethicist for Google, and I know you know this situation, but allegedly she was fired for raising her hand and saying maybe large language models aren't great ethically, and she lost her job. Google say that she left. Timnit Gebru says that she was fired. We'll leave it up to everybody else to decide. So we need to be able to challenge the status quo without feeling that risk that we might lose our jobs. And then we've got transparency, which is the T. So having that framework, so that you can sit around the table and just go, if we got these 5 things, the technical people might go, we don't need diverse teams, we're just getting a job done. Like, actually, you do need a diverse team to be doing this. You don't need to import their values. So part of the framework is that the discrimination drift, you can move positively or negatively. If it's moving positively, we've got power structures within the world that are moving towards a better place, more balanced place. There's more equity. If it's positive, and there are fewer social harms. If it's moving negatively, then the opposite's happening. So that's the framework. What is under review at the minute.
That sounds amazing. There's a lot of things that resonate for me there. So I tend to be that person in the middle between the business people and the IT people, demystifying it a bit and taking sort of the FOMO out of it and sort of having a conversation about what really needs to happen. So this really resonates with me. Oh, that's amazing. So I'm assuming that's going to be published at one point, right then, somewhere, and being put into practice where people can call you as a consultant or something, or
absolutely.
What do you see happening?
So for me, I just want the best for the world and the best for all of us, right? So that's the key thing. But so that framework is under review at the minute. So I can, once it's finalized with the journal, I can send you a link and people can have a look at it. And also get in touch if they want to chat, or just have a look at the paper and put it into place within workspace, because it's important that these things are made to be quite clear to everybody about what we need to do. It isn't difficult. It's just we're not doing we need some guidance on what that might be, and that's a start, right? It's at least getting the conversation started.
No, absolutely. So that's and I will definitely make sure that the links to your current research, but in the future also this particular part on drift is in the links in the comments and things like that, and we'll be sharing it on different media and hopefully get the word out. So I'm just thinking, this has been really inspiring, and I kind of, as a closing question for you, is like, is there something that is inspiring you at the moment, like a book or a YouTube video or a podcast or specific people? That should, like, you should follow that, you should read that. We mentioned a couple of books in the beginning. Is there anything right now that sort of gets you excited?
There is, but I want to get that balance right. And it's funny, isn't it, that we started the conversation and we set the scene about the issues and the problems and the potential and the future and how we can make a better future. And with that process, I oscillate between the two. Okay, so at the minute, like I said, I was at the House of Lords and I met a brilliant author called Laura Bates. She's written a book, Misogyny in the Age of AI. It's incredible. It's hard hitting, so a bit like Caroline Criado Perez's Invisible Women. It's one of those books where you're like, wow, this is happening. So what she talks about is the fact that it talks about the sexualization of women and what AI is doing there, especially with these. So pretty much we can create our own. Men and boys, girls and women can create their own partners, and they can do whatever they want to these partners, sexually, whatever they want to do. And this is a scary space when you've got young men and boys, particularly who we know are perpetuate sexualized violence towards women, who can do whatever they want to these women in these AIs. But we know that if they're doing that with an AI or online, it translates to the real world. So it's a moment of thought and a moment of pause. It's a really strong book, and I think we can just say this is a problem. It's not one of those things where a few years ago we're like, this could be a problem in the future. It's kind of now.
It is.
We need to have a think about it. That's one of the books.
Well, I definitely want to read it. What is the author again, you said?
Laura Bates. Yeah.
I'm going to definitely check that out. Well, thank you for this. And for me, the podcast is conscious innovation. And I love innovation. I love improving, creating new things, being conscious about it. And I think our whole conversation has been about just because we can, should we, and how do we make the world a bit of a better place? And we need to be very clear about things are going wrong so we can address them and make it better, right? So hopefully people who are like watching or viewing or listening to this didn't just get like all put off and think, oh my God, this is all bad. I think it's a good conversation to have every once in a while. So it makes you aware of, we need to do better and we need to be alert and conscious about what we're doing, because these technologies are amazing if you use them right, and if we just sort of debug them a bit.
I use them every day and I love them.
Yeah.
But it's knowing what's under the hood and use them in the right way, and knowing that we can improve it, and that we all have the power to do that. We just turn on our machine, we can open ChatGPT, and it's going to help us code maybe the next wave of technology that's going to solve it.
Yeah, I think we could talk for another hour, but I think this I think it's been so packed with information already that I would probably have to sort of, if we watch it, click pause a bit from time to time to go like, hang on, what were they just talking about? And who wrote this book? And what were they just saying? Let me rewind and really listen to it. So let's keep that for another conversation. But this was amazing. It was lovely to talk to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Lovely to see you.